Hi, I'm James Hamilton from Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal, and today we're going to create curved edges that fit together seamlessly right off the router. These are called complementary curves, and creating them is a valuable skill to have. Not only can you produce some cool looking panels, but the same skills may be used to make a negative template from a positive one or vice versa. That can be used to create things like moldings that fit the contours of fancy boxes, cabinets, or furniture, and all sorts of other stuff. This is a fundamental skill that will serve you many ways down the road. So let's get started. The problem with joining two wavy edges together is it can be near impossible to get a gap-free seam. Forget about cutting them separately and sanding up to the lines. You'll be sanding and adjusting until you run out of material. Some folks stack and cut the two pieces together on a bandsaw, but the width of the blade curve creates a different radius on one side of the curve as compared to the other side, and that leads to gaps on the slopes. If you need a really tight seam, there's a better way that involves a router and a positive and negative template. On the positive template, there's room for error because you'll be cutting the negative template to match. So cut close to your line on the bandsaw and then use a sander to refine the curve. Be sure there's no bumps or flat spots. This is the template you want to take your time to get right. I made my template 2 inches wider than my actual workpiece so I can let it hang off on the ends. That makes it easier to start and stop the router bit later. Lay out your two workpieces that you wish to join together to make your panel. Mark the lower one with a number 1 and the top workpiece with a number 2. Place the master template, the one you just made, on workpiece number 1 and trace the curves with a pencil. Then put it on workpiece number 2 without flipping or rotating it and trace it there as well. Those two curvy pencil lines will match up perfectly, but cutting to those lines is tricky. So rough cut both workpieces on the bandsaw, but stay about 1/16 of an inch away from your pencil line. To get those curves to fit properly, you need to turn your master template into a positive and negative working template. Use double-sided tape to attach the master template to another piece of template material that's about twice as wide. Mount a 1/4 inch flush trim router bit in your router table and use it to plow a 1/4 inch curve through your template material, being very careful to keep the bearing up against the master template as you cut. Now you've turned your master template into a positive and negative working template. Label the one that matches your master template with an A and the other with a B. The A template is really just identical to that master template, so it'll fit the curves that you traced out on your workpiece perfectly. So line it with that pencil line on workpiece number 1 and use the same 1/4 inch flush trim bit to route away the little bit of wood that your bandsaw left behind when you rough cut the shape earlier. The 1 inch overhang makes it easy to start the bit on the end, and I always like to take an extra pass or two as well to be sure I get a clean, smooth cut. Template B won't match the curve of template A perfectly because you lost a 1/4 inch of material within the router bit's kerf when you created it. So you have to get that 1/4 inch back when you use it to cut workpiece number 2. So when you attach it to workpiece number 2, back it away from your pencil line by 1/4 of an inch. Then take the bearing off your 1/4 inch flush trim bit and replace it with a 3/4 inch bearing. Now when you run the bearing along the edge of your template, you correct for the slight difference in shape, and your bit will cut to the pencil line that you drew with your master template earlier. The result will be two panels that fit together seamlessly. Now it can be a bit of a hassle to swap bearings like that. So if you're going to save these templates to reuse later, use template B and that 1/2 inch bearing to cut another piece of template material, just as if it was your regular workpiece. Now you can toss template B because you've just replaced it with a negative template that perfectly matches positive template A. You won't need an oversized bearing anymore. That same process, cutting two templates apart with a 1/4 inch bit and then offsetting one and using a 3/4 inch bearing to correct for the curve, can be used anytime you need to make a perfect negative or opposite copy of a curved template, no matter what you're going to use it for. In fact, in another video, we'll show you how to use positive and negative templates like this to create curved moldings. In the meantime, be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal, which is always full of great tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker. You can read and subscribe for free at stumpynubs.com. Happy curve complementing!